Okay. Welcome to Townsend's Conservation Commission meeting, Wednesday, August 25th. The time is 7:03. We'll open the meeting, start with roll call.
James Gates.
Joan Savoy.
Jane Beauclair.
Jennifer Eaton, present. Okay, so this meeting is being recorded.
Recording in progress.
Thanks. Is anyone else recording? Okay. Topics unanticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the hearing. We have a few announcements. Jim DeRoyan has resigned from the commission on 8/24, and his resignation is accepted. We now have 2 openings on the commission, so anyone out there who is interested, please contact us or complete a volunteer response form. Also, our new agent has decided to conduct site walks on Wednesday mornings. And finally, tomorrow at noon, MACC is holding a forum via Zoom to discuss mass forest updates, health updates. If anyone desires and didn't see their email, I have the Zoom info. Okay, so also, as far as meeting minutes, Joan has done the past 2 meetings minutes. So we'll start the agreed rotation. So if we go alphabetically by first names, it's Joan, Ann, James, and Jen. So Ann, will you please take the notes for the meeting tonight? Although this will be on YouTube.
Madam Chair, can I interject with another learning opportunity?
Yes, of course.
The Lunenburg, I didn't know this. Lunenburg has a community pollinator habitat.
Yes.
123 Hollis Road, and on Saturday, this Saturday from 12 to 2 and rain date Sunday, they're having a public, the public's welcome to come and view the habitat and see hopefully the monarch butterfly worms and all that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
1.4, Chair's Report. I've been chair for just over 24 hours and I don't have a report. Agent's Report. I have. Thanks. Okay, so we received a call from Jim Donovan about an order of conditions associated with 159 to 169 Brookline Road. This is a request to review and combine some of the order of conditions that will be addressed by our new agent and will be something that we'll discuss.
So she wanted to put that off. The agent hasn't been in the office this week with a prearranged absence, so we needed more information on that. Correct?
And that, yes, that came in sort of end of week on her first week. Old Meeting House Road received the DEP file number and new stormwater memo. And there are 5 building permit intakes for conservation review. And she also says that she'll be doing site walks on Wednesday morning. .6, approve the meeting minutes from 7/28/21 and 8/12/21. 8/11/21.
I made a typo. Everybody, I had put 28/25. It's 8/11.
8/11/21. Okay.
Anybody have any
Did everybody review the minutes?
Say about the 7:28 minutes?
I looked at them.
I'm sorry?
I looked at them on the messages.
Yeah. Any comments? No? Good. So you want to take a vote on those?
Okay, all right. Can I get a motion to approve the 7/28/21 meeting minutes?
A motion to approve the 7/28/21 meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And everyone get a chance to look over the 8/11/21 minutes. Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the 8/11/21 minutes?
I make a motion to approve the 8/11/21 minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
I do have a question. Ann and Jim, since you're the people who've been here the longest at this point, you might be able to answer this. When a certificate, when a request comes in for compliance, an order of condition compliance, if they're really old, so after the initial 3-year period has expired, it's been like, maybe it's 10 years old, and then somebody buys the land, they come in, so they want to get those off the title, they come in to fix that. Does that get looked at like a brand new, like it has to be compliant, or is there a time frame for if the compliance never was granted?
I'm going to just say that I think that would have to be reviewed and looked at to find out what the dates were on it, who attended going to site, because the sidewalk, et cetera. And then we'd have to go on ourselves accordingly after that point.
So it would be a case-by-case basis? Yeah, okay.
I would say correct.
All right. So I think I'll have to do a little more research on that because, they typically expire in 3 years, right?
We've had situations as such in town for long periods of time. Stuff comes out of the woodwork, and then you gotta govern yourself accordingly, make it work, and do research on it.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Okay. Appointments and hearings, 2.1, 7:10 p.m. Notice of intent and stormwater memorandum, DEP 308-0686. The applicant is Dillis and Roy, civil engineers for Squanicook Greenways. Yes, and I'd like to open the hearing under the Wetlands Protection Act and Townsend wetland bylaws. Yes, Leslie.
I would like you to consider continuing the meeting because the legal notice was run in the Groton Herald, not in a favorable circulation in the town in which the project is supposed to take place, which is according to Mass Wetland Protection Act regulations. And the exact quote that it's supposed to be by publication of a newspaper of general circulation in the city or town which the land is located. And I don't think many people tend to look at the Groton Herald or what's going on in Townsend. And I also think it should be rewritten because it also didn't say that the hearing would be held under the Townsend Wetlands Bylaw as well as the Wetlands Protection Act. And it should say both because you are hearing it under both. And then the other thing I was concerned, and I don't know if it's a requirement or not, but it did say who the applicant was. It just, which I don't know if that's a requirement per se, it just said that it was submitted by, Ducharme and Dillis, but nothing about who the applicant was at all. So anyway, I just think it would be better for the public to be aware and know what's going on and be able to provide input. And I would never have thought to look at the Groton Herald.
Oh, I can speak to the Groton Herald part, and then I think we'll have to ask Madam Liaison for some help. It has become the norm for these ads to be run in the Herald of late. It has.
But it isn't right. Legal, but the regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act say town where it occurs. And I did call the Neshoba Valley Regional paper, and they said, no problem, but they would run an advertisement, a legal advertisement from the conservation. And that's all I could get for a commitment, because I didn't have anything to run, but they said that they were aware of any problems, and sure, they would do it. So, I don't know, it wouldn't occur to me to check the Groton Herald for what's happening in our town. They don't send reporters here that I know of. At least in the Neshoba Valley Voice does have reporters here. So I just would recommend continuing that.
I
Okay.
support that point. I would only know because I happen to be.
Okay. Dave?
You might want to check on that because the Groton Herald just may be a misnaming in that, which still could be a problem, but the Groton Herald, Pepperell, Free Spirit, whatever, those 6 newspapers under their original name all became the Neshoba Valley Voice, a single unified paper, so.
But it's a separate paper. But it's a separate paper.
Well, that's why double check on it because.
What I do know
that going forward.
is from working in the office, I have directed a number, I was directed to direct applicants to the Groton Herald.
See, not to us, but that's what we were expected to do.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
a violation of the
Madam Liaison?
It's where the town has been for at least the past 8 months to a year been advertising. And if that is the case, then how many other projects that were advertised in the Groton Herald are an issue. So I don't see a problem. The abutters were notified, I assume. I mean, we haven't even gotten that far in the hearing. But there was a notice put in the Groton Herald, and that is where the town has been advertising for about at least the past 8 months, if not as long as I have been, select.
Yeah.
And that's where, like Jen said, she was told to tell people to advertise.
Yeah, this your advertisement was.
And their Groton, we don't have a newspaper physically in town.
No, but they do cover Townsend. The Neshoba Valley Voice covers Townsend, and they do send reporters to Townsend. I don't know if the Groton Herald does, but somehow or other I think of that as a local newspaper, and I have never looked in the Groton Herald every week.
It's a tricky situation. We're in a time where people are not reading newspapers, so it's kind of hard.
And it doesn't advertise under the Townsend Valley bylaw, which is a 35-foot notice start.
Yes, Linda.
So a good practice too is to have the clipping from the newspaper here, so you know if it's, because maybe it was in the Herald, like Bill was saying, maybe it did advertise. Because it is owned by one, right?
Right.
So maybe it was.
It's a different newspaper.
It is a different newspaper. That's always good to have the newspaper.
It's not in the show. It's a different newspaper.
Yes, Jim.
I'd like to ask why didn't you go to the select, we're not advertising in the Sentinel, who we always did.
Yeah, work.
Because these were always read by people who read the Sentinel, including myself,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's not happening.
Madam Liaison, is the Sentinel the paper we had the problem with because of an unpaid bill, the town?
It was whoever owns the Lowell Sun, whoever, whatever papers are part of the Lowell Sun group, it was that group. And there was an article on town meeting with an undue bill. And until that was paid, they were not advertising for the town of Townsend. And so the paper that was closest was the Groton Herald. And that was the reason for it. And so there you have it.
So going forward, we can use the Sentinel? Is that?
You can call and see who's going to accept, but I think you can use the Sentinel. I think you can use the Neshoba Valley Voice.
So we'll encourage
There's still a dispute about a bill not being
No, it's
paid
been paid. It has been paid, but it had to be approved at town meeting.
because the Lowell Sun is now the parent company of the Fitchburg Sentinel and the Neshoba Valley Voice, so they're all the same newspaper.
Right.
I
So
think
it's fine from this point forward, but when this was advertised, I don't think it's.
Okay.
I just,
Yeah, of course.
I just, I guess I disagree, because this is not just a basic house lot that's being developed, something minor, septic repair, whatever. This is a pretty substantial impact. And to me, again, Groton Herald, until this came up, I never even looked at the Groton Herald, so I missed all those 8 months of project. And I did ask, and they confirmed they would publish.
And when did you ask that?
After this came out. So maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I called them and asked them if they would, and they said.
Okay. So we have a challenge to the legal notice. I think that they will publish our legal notices because the procedure has changed, that now the commission will provide the template for the applicant, and the applicant will place the ad. So if they have a dispute with us, the point, I think, is moot.
When did that all change?
That's our policy now. That's how I was instructed when I worked.
You use the term now, and I'm just questioning, when did that change?
I can't say when it changed, but I can say that it changed before April 24th when I started working in the office.
Before?
Yes. When I got in there, I was instructed to provide a template to applicants and then instructed to have them contact the Groton
Who
Herald.
instructed you?
Our former chair.
So maybe that was because the Sentinel wasn't taking ads prior to that, at that time.
It's also under Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act regulations, it's the commission's responsibility to run a legal notice, not the applicant. That way you know it's done.
This may be something we want to put on our agenda for next time for developing a more rigid protocol for our legal notices.
We just got here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'd like
Dan,
to.
don't ever do that again.
Can you go forward? And then, this hearing is probably going to be continued anyways.
I agree.
You're right.
Okay,
Right.
so let's
Go forward
Right.
and take information,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
then you can run.
But that's that
news.
newspaper procedure is a good thing. It's something we need to straighten out. So, okay.
We're going to add that to the next agenda.
Pat Huckabee, DFW. So if this hasn't been properly notified in a local newspaper, then I want to make sure that when I'm reading the comments into the record that it's been properly notified. Right, Sam? I
I
mean,
think so.
shouldn't the local people know what we have to say about this project?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
That we open the hearing. We know we're going to continue it because we have a lot of comments that we have to address with Fish and Wildlife and Natural Heritage. And then we open the hearing so I can give you the overview, and then re-advertise it, and the next public hearing will be advertised in the appropriate paper.
So what we'll do is not
And that
close up the
started
hearing.
We won't close the hearing. Thank you.
Advertising in the Groton Hill, I think, started when Dave was here. And Dave started asking us, because when Leslie was here, we never advertised. The commission always did it. And when Dave came on, he started asking us to run the ad, and we were told to run it in the Groton Hill. So that's not typical. The only other town that we run the ad in is at. Every other commission runs their own ad. Right on.
Okay.
So we'll get a handle on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move
So if that
forward.
works, maybe we can just open the hearing. I can give you the overview because, like I said, there's a lot of things that are going to have to be discussed over time here. So
Okay. Does everyone sign the hearing sign-in sheet? We have a sign-in sheet for the hearing.
Yeah.
Do we have to take a vote to open the hearing? Do we have to take a vote to open the hearing? We did.
You don't need.
We did?
But
We don't need to?
open it. You
Just to close it?
No, you just need to read the legal notice and check your butter notification. That's the assessment.
that's another issue we're going to have with the others.
Okay.
There is no map and parcel for a road. So we asked the assessor to give us the abutters to the road, but we said these two parcels are abutters. So we need an abutters list for the land between these two parcels. And the assessor gave us the abutter to all those parcels, which is about 300 people.
I'm sorry, can I know who you are?
Oh,
I thought you were Tilson.
I am, Stan Dillon.
Oh, you are, okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, we didn't get that far.
You live in Chester?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I thought that maybe you were like in the town. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's
They
okay.
all know me.
You
I
just-
didn't feel like I did it.
Oh, well,
But I should.
I'm new.
I should.
Well, I'm not new to town, but I'm a butter.
Yeah, we didn't even get over the hearing yet, so it would just.
So,
just-
no, I
Oh, I did open the hearing.
I was just confused.
I don't think
so.
When did they open the hearing?
I'll get it.
Oh, yeah, you told
I
me.
opened the hearing.
I had him
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're just gonna have a discussion now, right? Stan, so Madam
Okay.
Liaison, we're just gonna, Stan's
Just an
gonna
overview.
present, we're gonna have a review and discuss, and then,
I'm going to read the
Yeah.
project description.
Put in, if you have green cards, I think you should check them and go forward
cards
as
for
if
us,
you're
Stan?
opening a hearing.
Okay, let's see them.
but we have green cards, but not a list.
You don't have a list?
I have a list, but I
Okay,
don't know if I
yeah.
have it with me, but,
You don't have
and
a
I
list,
said
do
the
you?
list is not, you won't, we didn't notify everybody on the list because there was, some people were 2 miles away because they're not abutters.
That's going to make it difficult for you to check
Because
them
there were
out.
others
Yeah,
that
we've
had
got-
gone by.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
There's a-
yes, Leslie.
There's a linear project stipulation in the Mass Wetland Protective Regulations that tells you how you notify people that are, along a linear project line.
Yes,
You don't have
that's
to notify all 3,000 people, but you do need a list in assessors.
That's the list.
We have a list.
Okay.
But it's the
Okay.
list for the, they gave us the abutters to piece that DCR and Fish and Wildlife own. So
All
which
around.
is, it's
Yeah.
enormous. And those, they're not abutters.
You just need to do it.
There's no way to ask for an abutters list for a road, because it has no map or process designation. So we'll ask for that.
I've done linear projects before, and I just wanted to point out, wherever the limit of the work is for the project, what other conservation commissions have done in Essex County is they just added they added 100 feet onto
And that's
where that limit of
that's
work
what we
was, and then we
notify.
captured it.
That's who we notify,
Okay.
all the people that were within 100 feet of the project.
Okay.
But not the people that are over on
2 miles away.
13, because they're less.
Oh, that might be interesting.
That would have been more
Just
close
note
to
that on the abutter. You know what?
That goes to
They total 100 feet within the project.
Joan, feel free to call me if I can help you decipher that list and we notify.
Thank you. It looks like it might be imminent.
I gave it to my admin. She
Well, she's,
wanted to notify 27 pages of people. There's the two DCR, the fishing one right there.
Did you guys get a copy of the NOI in your, in the conservation mailbox last week? Okay. And you also, James? Good.
Here's down in there.
Did you provide them with a notification to the voters too? But that wasn't in the NOI.
Sir. So we had trouble getting the dates. So because we had, there were no forums, there was no meetings, there was. They weren't having any meetings, so.
Well, there are 9 cards here, and there are 27 pages of addresses.
That's exactly. I can,
Is there a map to show where the butters are?
there is,
So you can-
I don't have that with me, I will touch base with you. John, we can go over that, make sure we notify everybody.
Okay.
We're gonna run the ad again, we're gonna run a new ad again regardless.
So,
Or, I don't know who's gonna run the ad, we are or you are? At this point.
Should be the Conservation Commission.
Pat,
Hey, Sean.
Chairman, Member Floyd, could you tell me was anything sent to the DFW Boston office?
I will look on this list.
I only mention that, Stan, because sometimes, and I mention this to you guys, because sometimes what happens if it's also priority habitat and estimated habitat, a mailing is sent to the Heritage Program. However, there's another, we're also a butters.
Right.
So we get a separate
And I
mailing
know
and
that
it's a
was
separate
confusing
comment.
because
Yeah.
we know one for the Savage Hill Road address, I believe, instead of
For the future. Yeah.
But I think, did you call it a request?
I did because I heard from the National Heritage Program.
It is confusing on this. And, both those, the addresses of both conflicts, street cost. So I think we sent one when we have multiple abutters who own multiple property deeds, we just sent one. And that, I didn't pick up on that one.
So legally, let me just complete that. Legally, priority habitat for state listed species, there's a filing requirement under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, so that's one. And then there's the estimated habitat of wetlands wildlife, and that pertains to the Wetlands Protection Act that impacts on state listed rare wetlands wildlife. And then there's the abutter notification, and that's important because we buy a lot of land in the Squamish River, and as an abutter, we have different and more specific interests than rare species. That makes sense? You got it. Fisheries and wetlands. Yes.
Can't you tell? Yes.
I'm sure these are in here somewhere. I'm pretty good at matching stuff too, I'll tell you.
I'm gonna read the description while she's doing
I'll
that.
highlight who was on John and send it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the location is Old Meeting House Road. And the proposed project is for the construction of a public access trail. The trail will be an extension of Old Meeting House Road that will connect the northern and southern portions of Old Meeting House Road via a river crossing of Squanicook River. And they are requesting a waiver from section 150-2, general provisions, and K11.
What happens now? I found
How's
one.
that going? Just
I
one?
found one.
I think Stan could give an overview of the project.
Yeah.
Keep us
Okay, Stan.
along.
Thank you.
So what's being proposed here is improving existing Old Meeting House Road from there's a little parking area where the improved area ends, which is at the CCR Highlight property. Old Meeting House Road does exist. You can actually drive all the way down to the river on this side. And crossing the river, which would be phase 2 with a bridge design, but we didn't want to go to that level and cost of designing a bridge if the rest of this was going to be problematic and we wasn't going to get approved. So that would be part of this, but it would come, I would imagine it would be a separate notice of intent to construct a bridge. The proposal would be to improve this existing road on this side to where the crossing would be, and then on the other side, which isn't very far from the river on the other side, down to where the bridge would be. So this road exists all the way. You can drive to the end. This road, you can drive to right about here, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff that's been dumped here over here, piles of dirt that it came from. I have no idea. So I would suggest that we schedule a site walk so everybody can see it.
We have a site walk date in mind.
And we will need to continue because there's a lot of questions that DEP and Fish and Wildlife have and endangered species. And I'd like to set up a meeting with Natural Heritage and Fish and Wildlife and the applicants and myself in one place so we can discuss what we're proposing, how we're going to satisfy your needs, what mitigations we're going to do, et cetera, et cetera. And we can talk about this forever, but until we satisfy the powers that are above you guys, actually, then there's your approval, no offense, but it's kind of meaningless. We have to get through, we have to get by those guys first. We wanted to introduce you to the project, and we just got the letter from, it actually came from Natural Heritage. And DEP comments, the DEP comments are pretty easy, pretty straightforward for us to deal with. The rest of the comments from Fish and Wildlife will need to, it's going to take a little bit of effort on everybody's part to get through those and resolve all those questions.
Okay.
But I would say that this exists. Really what we're proposing is to regrade what's there and put the same surface that's on the rail trail that's already been constructed on this regraded.
That surface is stone dust.
It
Okay.
creates problem next.
This existing is gravel, that's what you know better than I can, you put it down.
I do want to disclose, I did work on the phase one of the rail trail. But it's a 6 inches of 3/8 crushed gravel.
Okay.
And one other thing I found out, the entire stretch is in the buffer. So that's in the buffer, one up and down. Some places pretty close to the left. Like
Okay.
3 or 4 feet.
I know we have an abutter here. Would you like to make a comment?
I would like to read something.
Absolutely.
Stand somewhere most people can hear.
Whatever you're most comfortable doing.
I actually wrote something for myself because when this hearing was supposed to be, I actually had surgery the night before, so I had written something, but I'm just going to go through mine quickly. My name is Diana Newell, and I am the closest abutter. I live at 202 Old Meeting House Road, which is at the end of the south part of Old Meeting House Road. And just a point, the town no longer maintains that road at the end of my driveway, so it's not really a road through there. So my daughter, who's 35, has lived at my property her entire life, and she wrote something I'd like to read.
Of course.
But for me, my main question is, why? Why are we disrupting endangered species? Why are we disrupting the fishermen? Why are we disrupting my entire lifestyle, everybody on both of those roads? Because from what I can see, what we're talking about is a cut through, because the rail trail is on 119, right?
Correct.
So the purpose of this, as I understand it, is for a handful of people in a certain section of the town, because they have a rich anonymous donor, to be able to cut through a nice little over the river, cut through to the rail trail. Is that accurate? Instead of riding their bikes down that nice little rural road of South Harbor and pick it up over at the harbor, which is a much safer ride, by the way.
Partially correct, but it provides the connection, but to a significant number of people, because it provides a connection to Timberley Park.
Right. The number of people who happen to ride $1,000 bikes that might be in Timberley Park, right?
Well, I don't know if I categorize them.
Well, they're pretty expensive, those types of people, right? So we're talking about a small number of people getting a shortcut. So we're disrupting endangered species, and I've yet to hear what those are because they're identified as something there. So we're going to destroy the habitats of all kinds of things that have been pristine now for 80 years, because 80 years ago, I guess, was when the original bridge was destroyed in a hurricane. My ex-husband, my children's father, their family bought this land in the 40s. So we've had this property for that whole time. And the property went right to the river. And in fact, my ex and I, we sold to the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife because they wanted public access. so that they could have, absolutely, for fishing.
No, I know that.
Yeah. Well, I'm Newell now, it was Aho then. And all along there and at the harbor, they wanted public access for the fishermen because the land went right up to the thing. We were all for that. So, now we're going to be disrupting the fishermen. We're going to be disrupting, wildlife. And again, why? Because we're not talking about the rail trail. This isn't the actual rail trail. This is a shortcut.
I think two things I'd say to that is, one, we're not going to be disrupting the fishermen because this would actually provide them better access to the rivers. And two,
I think we need to let them decide that.
well, you decided it for them, so now I'm deciding.
In my opinion. Okay, so your opinion is they'd be happy. My opinion is they wouldn't.
And we're not destroying any habitat because we're improving that whole road that's there. We're not.
I know. I'm jumping past this to the bridge.
The bridge.
So I guess I'm kind of out of order here because once you do this, you're going to be putting a bridge over that river, which is then going to destroy the whole lot of stuff.
The bridge, well, no. The bridge would be similar to, have you seen the bridge that crosses the Nashua River in Groton into Bridge? It's about 8 feet wide. It would be very similar to that.
Well, then you notice the intent is 12 feet.
It's not a car bridge.
Pretty big.
So the proposal is, the old abutments are still there. But what would be proposed is to build a new abutment about 10 to 20 feet behind those abutments, and the bridge would just get laid down on top of those. So there would be no work in the river, no alteration of the riverbank or anything like that.
I'm just going to read what my daughter asked me to read because she actually had a house visit tonight. So my daughter's name is Lexi Aho. I am writing this as I am unable to make it in person. However, as a Townsend resident of 35 years and one that has lived at 202 Old Meeting House Road for the entire 35 years, I find this meeting of great importance. It is my understanding that the Squanicook Greenways would like to turn the Old Meeting House off Route 119 Main Street and the Old Meeting House off South Harbor South Road into a cut through for the new rail trail that runs across 119 in town. It's also my understanding that the reason for this cut through is that the large neighborhood filled with many of these supporters called Tivoli Park and the very few residents off South Row want to be able to safely, and she puts that in bold, access the rail trail on foot with kids, dogs, and on bikes. While having this trail in town running along the main road of 119 is an absolutely wonderful addition to this town, let me give you some examples of why this cut through is not such a great idea. Firstly, I would like to address the endangered species in this area, which I would like to add we've asked on numerous occasions as to what exactly they are, and we don't know yet. So it would be good if we could find out what species are there that we're disrupting. The obvious issue being moving and disrupting any endangered species is absolutely unreasonable and potentially dangerous to the way this species helps the environment. It is absolutely ridiculous on this road due to the fact that we were informed the massive flooding that blocks access to this emergency to this road. And this road floods like a few times a year. And we have never been able to fix it because of beavers. And beavers aren't endangered species. And we can't even fix the road because of that. So are you going to be able to get by that? Because your guys got enough money?
I don't know where they are, but I don't see any evidence of them along here.
They're the reason that it floods all the time.
Down towards.
Been there for 35 years.
Down towards.
Take over. Dare I say it simply because there are enough people with monetary ability to make this project happen. Oh, she said that. Maybe that they're trying to appease a group of people that are probably not even the size of a Pee-wee football field. I would most certainly hate for people to think this cut through is an easy way home, only to find that it's flooded out. And then heaven forbid, someone, most likely a young person, attempts to cross this flood and swept away as we were happening. And I'm going to skip some of this. So secondly, she says, adding a cut through on this road will completely and utterly destroy the sense of peace and quiet fishermen have enjoyed for over 50 years. The riverbeds have become littered with trash. The natural integrity of the banks will be compromised entirely, and the natural habitat certain species of fish are accustomed to will drastically change. Along with this, the possibility of people partying and doing illegal things will greatly increase due to this being such a quiet area. That's a big concern of mine too. 12 feet is a good space, and that's going to increase, various things, motorized, motorcycles, other types of trash. As it is, they already party down there and do a variety of things, and it's just going to further tax our EMS, people, police are going to be down there. How's that going to get monitored?
I would think this would actually make it more accessible to the police to monitor it and chase them.
Well, it's a good thing it'll be accessible because they'll be there a lot more. So will you be providing a parking area at one end of this portion of the cut through? If so, how will it be monitored? As it is, almost every trail I've run, hiked, and ridden my horse on is poorly monitored, poor signage, and no true parking. With already an overworked police and fire force in this town, they do not need more work because of one small group of people's need for a cut through. And I should mention again, God forbid that the road floods out and someone gets hurt. Thirdly, I understand this project is being put in motion by an anonymous donor, undoubtedly a donor whose family has been in this town for many generations. This person loves this town enough to put hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, into this project, so I'm curious why this project, of all things. This town has many, many roads that need tending to. The interest for a town dog park is exponential, and most certainly a source of great use. Money that can be put into sports, music programs, scholarship programs, the list continues. But I'm sure you see where this is going. The cut through is at the very bottom of the list for things that should be done in this town. My fourth I would making is that this cut through is supposed to make it safer for the Timberley Park people to access the trail. My issue is that it's simply not a safer way to get to that rail trail. As someone who's lived at 202 Old Meeting House for 35 years, I'm very well aware of how unsafe it is to travel from the end of Old Meeting House Road to the harbor lights on foot, on a bike, with a dog, with a stroller, with a toddler that can walk in on horseback. You see, when you take a left onto South Harbor Road from Old Meeting House, you will encounter an extremely dangerous curve that have been the source of countless accidents in all seasons every year. Along with the dangerous curve, you will then encounter the hill that creates an enormous blind spot for those driving the road and those walking, biking, and horseback riding in both directions. It is just plain unsafe, and for many, many years, I have had to make the decision to be on the wrong side of the road multiple times, leaving and coming from the harbor. I have almost been hit numerous times in those two areas. The areas you are claiming are safer for the South Road and Timberley folks actually is going to be much more unsafe. Once you reach Ash Street, you are far safer to travel because there are no blind spots from Ash Street to South Street to the harbor. It's a straight shot. And once you get to that bridge, there's already walkway. Lastly, I will address the issue that obviously directly and negatively affects my household. The reason I'm addressing this last is because this is not about me. This is about the town and the safety of the public. This is about the safety of the town I have loved and lived in for 35 years. But it's because of my residence here that I will bring up these next points. Adding this cut through will inevitably add extreme safety risks to both homes on Meeting House, Old Meeting House, and the people that call this place home. The more traffic, the more people. And with more people come not just good people with good intentions. With more people come the people with bad intentions. Partying kids, the people that will need a quiet spot to do illegal things. The people who may see both of these homes and the homes on the other side of the road, the other side of the river, as potential homes to burglarize. The people that provide a large and safe, the people that will not care about these properties being private property. The constant use of our driveway to get turned around in if you don't provide a good enough parking spot. For those that will fish, walk, and use the rail trail. When people use my driveway as a turnaround, they automatically are putting my 5-year-old little girl, my beloved dogs, and my incredible horses and their riders in danger. Adding this cut through will add a huge safety risk to the riders and horses, including myself, my little girl, who ride directly along the roads in the arena. Horses are prey animals and are flight animals in the fight or flight category. They also do not see like humans do and cannot see smaller things as fast, aka humans, strollers and dogs. They will spook easily and could inadvertently throw their rider, which I don't need to tell you could result in a major injury to the horses or rider. Along with this, the general public is not versed in how to handle livestock interactions safely. Basically the concerns about the horses, people coming in not understanding, how to manage that, things that fence and signs are not going to help. So I'm skipping a bunch here. My first and most important concern is my family and my animals. Should something occur that puts my family or my animals at any of the risks mentioned above, I will not hesitate to make sure the appropriate course of action is taken to the absolute fullest extent. I would like to thank I would like to think all of these concerns will be taken into strong consideration before going through the project I personally do not see any real true need for. I would also ask that any questions regarding the safety of my horses be forwarded to me in some way, as I can only assume you do not have a professional equestrian available for any of your inquiries, since when we spoke to Mr. Rideout, he himself stated he was unaware of many of my concerns or anything about how horse behavior works. Thank you for listening to my concerns. Sorry it took so long.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, we have a date in mind for a site walk.
I'll read it. In
Oh,
I can read it twice.
oh.
For the record, I'm Pat Huckery. I'm from the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. I'm the Northeast District Manager. We own the Squamish River Wildlife Management Area, which directly abuts this parcel, and the Department of Conservation and Recreation owns the majority of one side, and we own a lot of one side this project. So the letter I'm going to read into the record is 3.5 pages long. It was a joint letter that was written by the National Heritage Program because they review for impacts to state listed species under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Endangered Species Act for Massachusetts. The second part of the letter is developed by the district because we have the responsibility for protecting all of our other interests on the lands that we purchased. That's wildlife management areas, conservation restrictions, and other easements. So here we go. The first thing that the Heritage Program and the district wanted you to know is that we wanted to make a notice that additional information is required to take further action on the combined application for review under the WPA and NISA regs. The applicant listed above, and the applicant was listed as the Squamish Greenways, Inc., has submitted a notice of intent and site plans to the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program of the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, in compliance with the Rare Wildlife Species section of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act regulations, which is section 10.59. The applicant has also submitted supporting information for review pursuant to the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act regulations. The purpose of the division's review of the proposed project under the WPA or Wetlands Protection Act regulations is to determine whether the project will have any adverse effects on the resource area habitats of state listed species. The purpose of the division's review under NISA, the Endangered Species Act regulations, is to determine whether a take of state listed species will result from the proposed project. And Ms. Newell, you said you wanted to know which rare species are there. They haven't actually included them in this letter yet because it's not a complete filing, and they will eventually have to address that. Next paragraph, we have reviewed the submitted materials and have determined that additional information is required in order for us to continue our review pursuant to the WPA and the NISA. Please provide the following information in order for the division to complete its review. There are three main parts to what they want. Number one is complete engineered project plans. There's currently no information provided on the proposed river crossing or retaining wall design. The filing is also deficient in demonstrating how the river crossing will meet the Massachusetts stream crossing standards. Submit updated project plans showing the details of the proposed river crossing, retaining walls, and any proposed wetland replication areas. Any proposed grading, stockpile areas, and temporary construction laydown areas must be shown on the plans. Plans must also include cross-sectional diagrams of the proposed river crossing. Be sure to include limit of work and resource area impact calculations. Clarify whether the river crossing, retaining walls, and trail are being designed to handle / support motor vehicle traffic, and if not, how will motor vehicle traffic be controlled? Second thing, alternatives analysis. Submit an alternatives analysis that includes a justification for the need and purpose of the project. All alternatives shall be explored, including alternative alignments and road connections to the Squanicook River Rail Trail. Let me just repeat that. Submit an alternative analysis that includes a justification for the need and purpose of the project. All alternatives shall be explored, including alternative alignments and on-road connections to the Squanicook River Rail Trail. The third part is project segmentation. The Natural Heritage Program noted that all work is subject to the anti-segmentation provisions of the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act. The filing segments the river crossing and retaining wall design from the larger Old Meeting House Road Trail project. Furthermore, the Old Meeting House Road Trail project is a spur / extension of the recently constructed Squanicook River Rail Trail. As a result, the full proposed extent of the Squanicook River Rail Trail project shall be disclosed to the division in order to continue its review as a complete project. We would encourage the applicant to request a consultation meeting with our staff prior to submission of additional information, plans, and permitting documents to proactively address state-listed species concerns. They go on. After receiving the above requested information, the division will continue its review of the proposed project for compliance with the state-listed species provisions of the WPA and NISA regulations. The division's review pursuant to the WPA and the NISA is ongoing. Issuance of an order of conditions approving the project would be inconsistent with the interests of the WPA, and no work or other activities related to the subject filing should be conducted anywhere on this project site until the division has completed its review. If you have any questions about the heritage part of this, you can contact David Paulson, Senior Endangered Species Review Biologist at 508-389-6366 or david.paulson, PAULSON, @mass.gov. Now, the second part of this letter is from, I'll keep going, they are comments from the Northeast District Office. They came from my office. And so we're submitting them because we're abutters to the project.
I see.
The Northeast District Office of the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, I'm just going to call it Mass Wildlife, requested a copy of the subject NOI from Dillis and Roy Civil Design Group for review and would like to offer the following comments. The proposed public access trail, some of these are repetitive. The proposed public access trail directly abuts the Squanicook River Wildlife Management Area. It also directly abuts a large piece of the Department of Conservation and Recreation land. The proposed public access trail directly, I already said that. The Northeast District Office is responsible for protecting the interests of the agency at wildlife management areas. Therefore, we provide comment on proposed projects that impact wildlife and wildlife-dependent recreation. Please note that the district's comments are separate and different and reviewed differently from those under the Endangered Species Act. As is, the project cannot be properly reviewed based on the lack of plans for the bridge and retaining wall. Also, a MEPA filing may be, this is the question, Stan, a MEPA filing may be required based on the proposed project triggering the area of critical environmental concern threshold and possibly water quality CERT threshold.
Look at that. Maybe MEPA, but I don't think a 401, because we're just spanning the river. We're not doing any work anywhere near the river, really. So, but we'll look. If we need to, we will.
It was a question that came up.
And I guess I'm answering your question.
Okay. You are. You are. Okay, I have a question to the question. So was DCR ACEC program notified of the project?
I believe so. They get notified as the buyer.
as if the project cannot be properly reviewed based on the lack of plans for the bridge and retaining wall. Also, a NEPA filing may be required based on the proposed project triggering the area of critical environmental concern threshold, possibly the water quality CERT threshold, as well as for acceptance of state financial assistance for bridge design. But I just heard that there was an anonymous donor, so that I'm assuming that is not from the state. It's not state financial assistance.
I don't know.
Okay. Therefore, Mass Wildlife requests the applicant to return with a full and complete filing for review and that they confirm whether a project filing with the NEPA office is required. Prior to refiling, we recommend that Squannacook Greenways seeks an alternative site for crossing the Squannacook River using an existing road. In the meantime, Mass Wildlife would like to provide the following information concerning the proposed project and its location. So this is important. So some of this is really important because this property has a lot of designations for good reason. The proposed spur trail would bisect a large block of land. There's existing there about 1,000 acres of land that is unfragmented land important for wildlife habitat. And the spur trail disrupts the essential wildlife movement corridor. At the proposed project location, the Squannacook River is about 60 to 80 feet wide and routinely floods the surrounding riparian area, including Old Meeting House Road. I stopped by there before I came here, and it was significant flooding. I was afraid to actually drive my truck through it because it was so flooded.
We went there today.
You checked it out too?
Yes, we did.
Did you drive through that big one?
Yes.
Okay, I did too.
We didn't see it, but yes.
In a truck, you went by it too.
I do, and I don't know.
You came out here and checked it out. It's funny. It's not hurt. Anyway, it's really flooded, and there is beaver activity on one side. They're like taking rocks, and they have several sections, little dams. They're not big, they're small. So there's definitely beaver activity there. Okay, so Squannacook River is 60 to 80 feet wide. It routinely floods the surrounding riparian area, including Old Meeting House Road. Old Meeting House Road has not been a functional road for almost 100 years. And in 2004, the town voted to discontinue its maintenance. In its current abandoned condition, the road itself offers potential turtle nesting habitat. Over 30 years ago, Mass Wildlife built a handicap fishing access at this location on riverbanks that routinely flooded, eroded, and moved. And as we know, those are no longer in existence because that river blew them out. So that occurs with insidious river systems like the Squannacook River. Old Meeting House Road, which falls within this dynamic river zone, is gradually reverting to balanced wildlife habitat. Mass Wildlife has invested millions of dollars to protect the Squannacook River system for wildlife and wildlife-dependent recreation. We own the open space to the east of the proposed project, while the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation primarily owns the lands on the west side. At least 9 species of greatest conservation need. Those are species that are listed under our State Wildlife Action Plan. Our last State Wildlife Action Plan was from 2015. Those species reside in the Squannacook River system, including spotted turtle, eastern ribbon snake, northern goshawk, moose, bobcat, triangle floater, freshwater mussel, to name a few. The Squannacook River has received numerous protective conservation designations because of its biological significance, and I'm going to go through all 7 of them. Number 1, Squannacook and Nissitissit River Sanctuary Act. That was passed many years ago. That was so that new discharges of sewage and wastewater could not be directed into the rivers. That was 70s, that's all right. The Squannatissit area of critical environmental concern. These are places in Massachusetts that receive special recognition because of the quality, uniqueness, and significance of their natural and cultural resources. These areas are identified and nominated at a community level and are reviewed and designated by the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs. ACAC designations create a framework for local and regional stewardship of critical resources and ecosystems. Third, it's an outstanding resource water, which is protected under the Mass Water Quality Standards regulations. 4, it's a Biomet 2 core habitat. Biomet core habitat protects the most viable populations of wildlife and plant species and protects the breadth of biodiversity statewide. 5, it's a cold water fisheries. Sensitive freshwater habitat. These are sensitive freshwater habitats in which the mean of the maximum daily temperature on a 7-day period generally does not exceed 768 degrees, which means it's nice, cool influxes of water. And when other ecological factors are favorable, such as habitat, they're capable of supporting a year-round population of cold water aquatic life, such as trout. So native brook trout are pretty important in the state of Massachusetts. They also are a species of conservation need. 6, the North American Waterfowl Management Plan lists the Squanicook River system they give it a special designation as it provides important breeding and migratory habitat for waterfowl. And then lastly, and most recently, it was designated as a wild and scenic river. Almost done. The alignment of the proposed fur trail falls within riparian area, bordering vegetative wetland, bordering land subject to flooding, bank, if you're putting in a bridge, but that's not listed in the NOI. Land under water bodies and waterways, which is also not listed in the NOI because the bridge isn't proposed right now. Wetland resource areas altered by the proposed project are currently wildlife habitat and would be impacted negatively. In addition, at the location of the proposed fur trail and for several hundred meters on either side, there would be an increase in the intensity of human and dog disturbance in otherwise intact wildlife habitats. I'll tell you, I was standing out there, and if you guys went out there, it's quiet. It's just quiet, and you feel like you're surrounded by wetlands, oxbows, streams, rivers, and it's wetland vegetation on either side of the right-of-way. It's lovely. I hadn't been there in a while. The increase in use would likely disrupt important wildlife activities within the riparian area, bordering vegetative wetland, bordering land subject to flooding, bank and land under water bodies and waterways. There would be wildlife disruptions introduced based on distance, frequency, and temporal effects from human activity. I can get into that at later meetings if it will help, but wildlife, different species of wildlife, different types of wildlife are very sensitive to human use, as well as dogs off leash or dogs on leash. In a place like the old Meeting House right-of-way, which is embedded within an extensive and diverse wetland system, increased recreation could lead to direct mortality and collection of wildlife. We've seen in other places where we have more actually true roads that go through our WMAs when there's wetlands on both sides like this particular location. It's a death zone for everything on that road. And these are roads where mostly used by people that are walking and riding their bikes. At this juncture, the district anticipates providing additional comments during the NOI process for proposed project alternatives and if required during the review process. So if you have any questions, you can call me. I'm Pat Huckery, Northeast District Supervisor. You can find me at 978-772-2145 or email is pat.huckery@mass.gov. And this was signed by Dr. Eve Rose Schluger, who is the Assistant Director for the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program at the division. Thank you.
Diane, and we have your letter for the record.
I have.
Yes.
Can we get it? Oh, thank you.
Okay, so third time's a charm.
It's Dan's turn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I think we should schedule a site walk and continue, but we have to set up a meeting with natural heritage and fish and wildlife and work through some of these issues. So
We would like to get out there.
I don't know when we would continue to. So let's just pick a date. And if that date doesn't work, we'll get you a letter and we'll continue beyond that date. So probably by the time we meet with you guys and everything, we probably need a month. So not the next meeting, maybe the one after that.
Okay.
Can I just suggest your site walk includes, since I brought up and also brought up alternative ways of getting around this, your site walk include the way to the harbor by the road and the dangerous area that I pointed out. It's not a good idea to come down there. I mean, I know that's not a conservation thing, but we're talking about possible alternatives to this. Or does that not matter in this particular forum?
It would have to be in our jurisdiction.
Okay.
Correct. So it would have to be in that jurisdiction, which that would not be. So we're based mainly on what's being proposed to us at this time.
Okay. So if the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife is asking for an alternative, that doesn't impact the Conservation Commission? Because they're asking for an alternative based on a lot of conservation-related things.
Part of the process is creating an alternative.
Yeah, we need to provide them with an alternative.
But you know,
Yes, that's the jurisdiction.
thank you.
Leslie.
Quick comment. I'm just thinking you might want to set the sidewalk up, whatever you think. But after you rerun, we will notice because it is public property and someone might want to attend, not only on someone's private property. So more people would be aware of it. Sidewalk.
Madam Liaison, would it be appropriate if we first had a site walk with the conservation members and then we had one following that with the public invited?
I think that's
Okay.
This sidewalk should be put off a couple of weeks because it's extremely wet down there right now. Your things are not treated to dry up. And we got to recognize, we got to come in from both sides for the sidewalk. So come up
Okay.
119 one time and drive around and come up the other side in the same sidewalk. So it's going to take a little time.
It should also be put off until Stan meets with the state agencies.
Yeah, I don't think this sidewalk
We're
should be
just-
rushed at this time.
No, we're kind of,
It's gonna be
nothing
a long
happens until we
process.
meet with them.
Right. This isn't going to move forward until we satisfy that.
Correct.
I just think from another perspective, since you do protect wetlands and resource areas, then it's important to see what it looks like now underwater, water flowing in 4 separate places across that road. I think, I don't know how raised the bed will be for this proposed raised rail trail, but it's pretty impressive to see,
I'm just going to recommend to the commission that we might go down at this point in time, just drive down in the car and you'll see where the water starts to go. We did go quite a distance down there and we had a 4-wheel drive, so there was no issue. But it's
Okay.
extremely wet and the water is probably 18, 20 inches deep.
There were also areas when we were driving down where we were lower than the actual river.
That's where the beavers are working.
That's where the beavers are working.
Okay.
It's amazing.
And it is still a public way, so you can go down there.
Suggestion for the commission, that's all. And then when we do it later, when it's dried out in another couple of weeks, prior to the second meeting,
Yes.
then everybody have their own opinion because they visualize it.
Does everybody agree with that? Commissioners do independent drive-by,
Yeah.
and then we schedule a site walk when access
At
is.
least a month, maybe two. Because it's going to take some time.
What's the
to
second meeting in September?
September 8 and 22.
Why don't we continue to the 22nd and see if that works?
Or do you want to start work a week before that? If you want to continue to the 22nd, we do something on 14th, 15th, or 16th.
I
What's
don't
the
know. I think
Wednesday?
we should wait.
Wait
Until after that meeting,
Yeah,
because then he can bring feedback, hopefully bring feedback from National
that's a good
Heritage
point.
and Mass Wildlife. Because it all hinges on that.
James,
We don't, they're way above us. We just,
correct.
we're on the local level. So I don't want to waste time, especially with the commission the way it is right now.
Okay.
That one set of criteria, look at, but their criteria overweighs what you guys.
That's right.
Plus, our agent wants to do site walks on Wednesdays, so.
So it will be the Wednesday.
On Wednesday, okay.
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna.
Again, we. So that,
Okay. So we're gonna wait on the site walk.
So you need a motion?
I need a motion to continue till September 22nd
Use
meeting.
the old term, still move.
I second.
All in favor? Okay.
You have time?
That was
Why don't we put it on at 7:10?
7:10.
7:10 p.m.
Yes, 7:10.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Stan. Everyone else.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Pat and Diana, I need you to sign this sheet because you spoke. And Stan, I have use my pen. Thank you.
Oh, great.
So you were left-handed. You never paid attention.
I'm left-handed too.
Obviously, I'm not in my right mind.
So there's three of us then.
Yeah, clearly I'm. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. So we have both letters.
Yes, and then Stan's.
Just a quick one. So you want us to re-advertise in the Sentinel
Yes,
or in the Neshoba Valley Voice?
yes.
Okay.
And can you just send an email to Jess to let her know when it's going to be in there? Because we'll get it and then we can cut it out.
Yeah,
too.
okay.
Okay, thank you, Stan.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I need a motion to close the,
We're not going to close.
we're not closing it. Sorry.
Just been continued.
It's been continued, so we're good. Okay, great. Sidewalk, continue. Okay.
Absolutely.
So 3.1, approve order of conditions for DEP 308-0684 and Townsend Wetland Bylaw 2021-110. Was voted, approved on 8/11/21 for Wild and Scenic Grant. Roger Raposa on behalf of Townsend Cemetery and Parks. Location is off Jeff Street, Adams Dam, and the applicant has been notified of the delay.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, the delay being that they thought we were going to deal with this last. That's correct. Wednesday, the 11th.
Yep. So
When the meeting got canceled.
that's correct, our canceled meeting. Okay, can I get a motion to vote to approve the order of conditions for DEP 308-0684 and TWB 2021-110?
We didn't approve it?
We have to approve we approved the NOI, but not the OOC.
Okay.
Yeah.
I motion to approve. The OOC, DP 308-0684, TWB 2021-110.
Seconded.
And now we have discussion. Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Just a question that if you had any special conditions, you would listen now, otherwise you would just say
Oh, thank you.
standard conditions.
We do have a special condition. On page 9.
Okay, so the conditions are install row socks type seeded wattles in steep areas to better control erosion, seed other areas with suggested conservation and wildlife mix from New England wetlands plants or similar vendor, and install gate and boulders as on project description / grant application.
Thank you.
Okay,
The
so
motion is still seconded, so.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous.
So we're not sure how many signature pages we need. We know we need at least 2, but I think we're going to assign 3.
Okay.
So you have the extra blanks, right? Madam
Yes,
Chair?
I do.
Great. Okay. Three for each. Two for the next.
Yes, I have that one. Two more for the radiation. Yeah, those are definitely good.
I'm missing one.
No, you don't know. Oh, this one, no, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was not on there.
Zipping right along. Thank you. Okay, so. You've got you should have another conditions copy, right? That was emailed. It was printed out. I can give you my copy. Okay, I'll take your copy. It's Roger, right? Thank you. This is, okay, great. Okay, so move on to 3.2. Approve the order of conditions for DEP 3080685 and TWB 2021-102, which was also voted and approved on 8/11/21 for lots 1 and 2 Warren Road, Kevin Smith and Kenneth Tully. And that applicant has also been notified of the delay, cancellation of last week's meeting. Okay, so can I get a motion to vote to approve the order of conditions for DEP 3050685 and 308, thank you, 0685 and TWB 2021-102?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sign. Okay, so we have 3 more papers to sign.
It's already open signed?
No, we have to sign for the
Oh,
order of
that's fine.
conditions. Yeah, we need 3 more. Sorry, James. Jumped the gun on you.
All right.
I'll pass this one down here. Distribute it.
Oh, I didn't read the special conditions on that one.
Special conditions.
Oh, you didn't. No, you didn't. Page 9.
Special conditions for DEP 3080685 includes the planting of 4 to 6 foot maples as on plan stamped 7/20/21 by Dillis and Roy. Seed other areas with conservation and wildlife mix or other appropriate mix from New England wetlands plants or similar vendor. We have an extra one.
Yeah, that was in there. That was in there. That's all right. The extras don't hurt.
No. You got everybody?
Ann and Jim need to sign this one.
Okay, we've got one more coming your way.
Okay, so there you go. At least 3 copies there. So for signing the voucher for Jason membership in MACC,
Yeah,
I'm not sure we have to vote on it. We all just to be safe.
just to be safe, just to cover everything. So 3.3, approve paying dues of $60 for conservation agent to join MACC.
I motion to approve paying the dues for conservation to join MACC, conservation agent.
I second.
All in favor?
We're not sure where to vote on that, but we thought we'd better. Where's the warrant? I think I had a paper clip on it.
Let me just hit sign right here.
Yep.
Thank you. So we have it's here. Okay, so thank you. It's 4.3.
That's the one we get to the
Okay.
fund. Yeah, the fund.
Okay, great. So 4.1, correspondence and announcements. Kimberly Roth, our DEP circuit rider, has volunteered to do a training for the commission on completing forms, and the available dates are coming. I've had a back and forth with her, and she would like to do it during business hours. Any commissioners who are interested are welcome to join. It's,
So like between 9 and 5?
yes.
Okay. And would that be in person or?
It would be a Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yep, over Zoom.
So do we have to pick a date or she's going to supply dates, please?
I've responded to her email letting her know that we were available to do it during business hours, and I'm still waiting on the dates.
James, are there any particular business hour days or hours that work best for you?
No.
Like a lunchtime or something?
Lunchtime's good, but I'm flexible. I can be flexible.
Oh, okay, great. I'm open. Jim and Ann?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we'll definitely be in touch about that. Okay, so 4.2, the MACC dues now paid for the commission members. Everyone should have received an email with their access information, but remember to call Lindsay Martucci directly to register for classes, as she will bill the commission directly, so don't register online. 4.3, accounting report on CONSCOM funds. See handout, and
Here's the handout. So,
Joan is.
Madam Chair, if I may, so there's more money around these accounts than we thought, but I will tell you that I had a handle on some of them, but I was so busy this week typing away that I have not answered my own questions. So I am suggesting, Madam Chair, that we all just have some homework and take a look at this, and then at next meeting we can come back with questions, and I will have answered my own questions too, so maybe I can give a more comprehensive breakdown of where we stand with all the funds and
Okay.
what they can be used for. Does that sound fair? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay. 4.4, paperwork signed by the commission members on 7/28/21 left the building with the chair who resigned that night. So we have checked with the residents and DEP to see if indeed it has been properly processed and filed. And it has been filed with DEP. Yes, we received 2 certified mail receipts, and the 2 applicants were left messages. 4.5.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes.
So this is Karen Hill. In case you didn't figure it out. And I'm getting a lot of feedback, and I'm not sure why. But I'm wondering why this isn't even on the agenda, because no paperwork ever left the office. Ever.
Thank you.
The signature pages were always in the office. I never had access to any computers in town hall. I had to process all the paperwork with my own laptop. I had to print it on my own printer using my own ink and paper. So any paperwork was processed at my house. I brought it into town hall, made photocopies, and Mr. Jerorian saw all this. And I want this on the record. I want this on the record that I never took any files or paperwork out of the conservation office. And until you have proof,
I do have an email.
I'm sick of you putting this.
I do have an email from you stating that you
I'm sick of you insinuating that I did this. And you're doing it in public for no reason other than to taint my image.
Actually, not. We were concerned, and I do have an email from you stating that you hand-delivered the paperwork to the residents on the 30th, which was 2 days after the resignation. So our main concern is that this all got taken care of and everything got where it needed to be. And so Jen called DEP and made the confirmation and all that. Thank you.
And I made sure that we've submitted the paperwork for the MACC dues. I made sure that there was a money turnover done. I'm sick of you people trying to insinuate that I've been doing wrong things, which I've always upheld everything legally and to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Okay. 4.5, update on Campbell Farm CR. We have no update on Campbell Farm CR. We haven't heard from Mr. Roberts regarding scheduling a meeting to sit down and go over the CR. 4.6, TCAM letter dated July 29, 2021, requires no response because we are now compliant. 4.7, we already discussed that.
Yeah,
All right, great. So 5.1, we have items for discussion at next meeting. Discussion of the area of critical concern in Townsend and how this commission views it.
Madam Chair, may I speak to that, please?
Of course.
The ACEC is something, and I know I have been looking at it over the last 2 years, but I know I need to learn more about it, and maybe when Kimberly Roth from the circuit writer from DEP meets with us, she can speak to it too. But I just thought we should all maybe on our own take a look at the ACEC and see what that means, and what other agencies, what it means to them, so we can be more informed as a commission.
5.2, update / increase Townsend General Wetlands Bylaw rules and regulations fee schedule that hasn't been changed since
You don't have
2010.
5.2. Is that something you added? I have a
No,
5.1.
Are you missing your back page?
No, my back page says 5.1, not
Yep.
no
It's a 5.1.
Oh, okay.
5.2.
All right, we'll look at it.
Let's do that in the next meeting.
Yep,
Of course.
okay.
all right.
I'll take that.
Sorry.
Unless you want it. Would you like to have this anyway? These are the fee, this is the current fee schedule.
This is the current.
So we'll talk about that next meeting.
And do we have a comparable, or could we be provided with a comparable schedule to basin towns?
Like another town, that's a great idea. Maybe we'll
I
call.
can do that
call.
research.
Yeah, great, thank you. Did I give you one yet?
Yep. So, next meeting, Wednesday, September 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen Chambers, second floor. Okay. And adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to at 8:34
I
p.m.
second that.
All in favor?
Thank you.
The next meeting was on what date?
September.
September 8th.
September 8th. I'm sorry, I didn't get that one.
Thank you.